everyone. Good morning. This is CricketSong of Lunar Wisdom, and this video is going to be discussing spell remnants. I had a viewer subscriber ask me, what do you do with your spell remnants? Can you reuse your leftover candles? How should you deploy certain potions? Why bury a potion in the east instead of the west? Why would you bury the remnants, and why shouldn't you not just throw it away? Now, my first answer to spell remnants, which is, for example, what do I mean by spell remnants? Leftover ashes, if you've burned something, if you've used a potion or water to cleanse something, what do you do with the leftover? The remnants of candles, sometimes there's the little wick base, sometimes there's leftover wax, sometimes you don't burn the whole candle and you have a leftover candle. These are the remnants of a spell. Now, my first response is, there is no set response to what you do with your spell remnants. It's going to really depend on your spell, the intention of your spell, and what you're going to do with that. What are you going to do with that? So it's really going to be determined by your spell, the purpose or the intent of your spell. I can say that for me personally, if I set a spell and I dressed a candle, I set the candle, I dressed it, I carved it for a particular purpose, then I use that candle only for that purpose that I've set it as. So if I'm doing a spell, and say for prosperity, and I used a green candle and I put money symbols all over the candle and I anointed it with basil oil, and now I'm burning it in a spell for prosperity, I'm done the spell, but the candle only burned halfway, I would not take that candle and then use it for a cleansing, because that candle was dressed, anointed, and charged for the intention of prosperity only. So I would not reuse a candle. Unless it was for another prosperity spell, I may use that same candle depending on the intention of the original prosperity spell. I may reuse it for the same purpose. Generally, I use small candles, like charm candles, I think they're called, or little, they're small, thin candles. I use those because they burn, and I burn them all the way down for that particular spell. And generally, when I burn those charm candles, there is no remnant. I burn the whole candle for that spell, so there's no leftover wax to worry about. Now, if I'm doing a spell, like, for example, we did a spell last night which had an incense that we burned. There is a charcoal disc that we burned, and then we put the incense on top of it, and there's some ash left over. The spell that we did was for self-love. So what I'm going to do with the remnants of that ash, I am going to take the ashes from that spell and spread it within the circle, because our circle that we generally use in the backyard is our sacred space. So I want to promote the self-love to all who enter that circle. So that spell is still carried through into what I do with the ashes. I wouldn't just throw them away. So I would really take what your intention of the spell is and look for a way to include the remnants as part of your spell work. At least that's what makes sense to me. So how should you deploy certain potions? Again, that's going to depend on what the potion, the intention of the potion is. So I don't really have a set answer for that. Why bury a potion in the east instead of the west? Well, you would need to determine what the correspondence for the east and the west is for you. Do you associate the east with air? Do you associate the west with water? What else do you associate the west with? Do you associate it with the dead? Do you associate it with intuition? Do you associate the east with air and creativity? And what is this potion? What was the intention of this potion? So my feeling is, you look at the correspondences with the directions, and you decide the intention of your potion. What does that associate with, and where would you then discard it or pour it or deploy it in? Why would you bury the remnants? Again, because you want to bury it, you want to give it back to Mother Earth, you want to plant it, you want to get rid of it. There's so many visualizations and purposes for planting things or burying things, you know, to bury it, to get rid of it, to bury it, to encourage it to grow, to nurture it, to give it over to the womb of Mother Earth. It depends on what your personal correspondence is with it. Why should you not just throw the self away in the trash? Personally, my feeling is anything you just throw away gives it like no second thought, which can be a positive thing, but to me, just throwing stuff away means you don't really care about it, there's no real intention, I don't need it, it's garbage. And whenever I do spell work and energy workings of any sort or spells, those things are not just throwaway garbage. They have an intention assigned to it, and that's why I personally would not just throw something away. If you have any comments or questions in regards to your spell remnants, if you have a spell and you have remnants and you're just not sure what to do about it, you're looking for suggestions or opinions, please feel free to leave a comment or send me a message, and I'll respond to it as soon as I can. And as always, remember, I love you. Mwah.